Welcome to Season 2 of the Made in Maine podcast, where small businesses join together to think outside the box and learn how to roll with the punches and stay in the fight. We invite you to tune in whether you're a skeptic, on the fence, or have many years creating Maine-made products. Let's keep that entrepreneurial fire burning strong as we put Maine on the map with the Made in Maine podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Made in Maine podcast. Today I'm joined with Julie and Paul from Coastal Maine Popcorn Company. They're in Boothbay Harbor, and they've been there since 2008. They offer over 40 flavors of craft popcorn, air popped and handmade, one batch at a time. They pride themselves on making an incredible product and providing exceptional customer service. They're open year-round and have many other outlets where you can find their popcorn. They have a great wholesale program, fundraising, and are able to offer custom labels for weddings, parties, corporate events, and pretty much anything else you can think of. Julie, Paul, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for carving out a little bit of time. I'm excited.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
We got Paul on the show this time. Last season, we had Julie. We got to talk about her perspective and her story with the business. And she said mostly pretty good things about you, Paul. She
was being nice.
Yeah, she said you do a lot of the numbers, and even sometimes she said you're out there delivering the popcorn to some of the stores.
Absolutely.
I've noticed that you guys have got. You're always working on trying to get into more grocery chains and even some convenience stores I've seen you in. I know you're in a pretty big list of area. We'll talk a little bit more about where people can find the popcorn. But before we do that, this season, we really want people to know a little bit more about the owners of these companies from Maine. And so I have a few questions. I want to know, where are you guys located? How big's your family? Do you have a small family, a big family? What about animals?
Yeah, so we live in East Boothbay, which is just about 4 miles from the center of Boothbay Harbor. I was born and raised in Boothbay Harbor. I am 4th generation. I've been here for 48 years.
I've only been here for about 18 years, so she's got me beat. But I moved up here from Southwest Florida 18 years ago, and had a business management background, but was kind of getting burnt out with that. So took a break, came up, and very long story short, very lucky to meet my wife, and that just sort of started everything. So
yeah, we have 2 girls. We have Jackie, who is 21. She's Paul's stepdaughter, but loves her.
Yeah, I mean, we rarely use that term. So.
Yeah, and so Jackie lives in Estero, Florida now. She moved down there a couple of years ago to go to school. And then we have a 9-year-old, Olivia, who is in 4th grade. She's been had virtual school this year.
This whole year.
So
how's that working out? We got to stop just for a second because I got to know.
It's been interesting.
You said you wanted to meet me and know what I've been doing. So for the last year, I've been revisiting 4th grade through my 9-year-old. And I've got to say, I think I'm doing a much better job this time around. So lucky for her.
Oh man, that is great. Well, that's, those are some of the things that you have to do, especially when you're owners of small businesses. You got to be able to be flexible, and you have that flexibility. Obviously, it presents some challenges. But maybe she's getting a better education, or
she's getting a different education. That's for sure. So We'll see how it all shakes out in the end, I guess.
It's been really great family time. We've actually been really grateful for it. So.
Yeah. I would not want to, I'd love to undo the COVID part, but this past year has been fantastic in that regard. So
yeah, that's great. And how about any animals?
We have a 14-year-old lab, Molly,
wow.
She's laying across the room from us right now. She has some old bones, so she pretty much sleeps all the time. And then we have a 2.5-year-old long-haired part Maine Coon cat, Pearl. Okay. And then we have a black long-haired cat, Clark, that we just adopted about a month ago from the Animal Refuge League in Portland. And we just found out that he was a little alley cat.
He was a streetwalker down in Georgia.
From Georgia.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I think there must be some kind of connection between Georgia and Maine, because we got a rescue dog a couple of years back, and she was left you know, her owner left her down in Georgia. They brought her up.
Wow.
Aw,
Yeah, that's interesting.
She's so
Yeah.
sweet, our Josie girl. So you guys have lived in Maine for quite a while. Julie a little bit longer.
Mhm.
That was a while ago. How about this? Do you remember your first date?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Uh,
In fact, we have a picture on the wall not too far from us, right
Oh, nice.
where, yeah, where part of that first
Is
date
there a
was.
special restaurant or?
we went, our first date was at the Thistle Inn here in Boothbay Harbor, and we met, and we had met previously, and which is another long whole story.
Sure.
And then our worlds, we were lucky enough to recollide about 6 months later and met for dinner at the Thistle Inn. And then we went out to New Wagon.
The end of Southport Island.
Out on the pier. And
So explain to us Boothbay Harbor for those that are watching and maybe have never been to Boothbay. How would you explain it in a short
So,
summary?
Boothbay Harbor is down on its own peninsula off Route 27, which is off Route 1. And so you drive about 12 miles down into Boothbay Harbor region. And then there's some other smaller kind of like Southport Island, which is off Boothbay Harbor, which we crossed over the bridge and drove to the very end of Southport Island.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's Boothbay Harbor is it's a working waterfront. So, you know, lots of lobster boats, tons of tourists, you know, and people with summer homes in the summer. So there's a lot of activity and all kinds of things going on. I mean, it really is. It's an incredibly beautiful place to be, and we're really lucky to be here.
Definite small town feeling, but you know, with that whole Maine vibe.
Yeah.
But lots of
And fantastic popcorn in town too.
right.
Well, I actually already knew the answer to that question because I visited for the first time last year for my 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I messaged Julie and I said, Julie, what am I gonna do? Tell me where to go, what to do. And she suggested taking her on a hike, which you have some wonderful hiking trails down there. We absolutely love that part of the hike. You got to see overlook. I want to say it was the ocean. It might have been like a runoff that goes into the ocean. We absolutely love the hiking trails. And then she also suggested going to the botanical gardens. And so we did that. My wife was just getting into gardening last year. So that was like, I scored some major points. She didn't even,
Nice job.
Great.
she didn't
You're
even see
welcome.
it coming. And you want to talk about good food, man, there was some excellent restaurants down there. There's an ice cream shop right next to the popcorn shop.
Right.
And we had a very good time. Like, I think we're going to go back. It was a little bit unique last year, and we'll talk about that just briefly.
Right.
I think we got very lucky because, like you said, it is a fairly tourist town. It's a very quaint town, and there wasn't many people last year, and so we really got to enjoy things, I think, a little bit more. So,
Yeah,
Right.
it's great.
so do you have any favorite restaurants in town? Can you say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of our favorites would be Coastal Prime, which is attached to Oceanside Golf Resort over on the east
East
side of
side.
the harbor.
Forts-
It's
oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
it's-
like two sides of the harbor. I've noticed. I noticed it right
we're
away.
on the west side, which
Yeah.
is more kind of retail,
Mhm.
restaurant area, and then the east side of the east side of the harbor, which you can walk across the footbridge or drive around, has a couple of hotels and a couple restaurants over there, and just tends to be a little bit more residential. That's where a lot of the working waterfront is. Over there, there's a little Fisherman's Memorial Park, and it's a great walk over there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite spot that you like to visit every year in Maine, or at least try to go to, maybe
We-
outside of Boothbay?
Yeah, we haven't been away for, I mean, obviously
Right.
we didn't go anywhere last year, but you know, a couple years before that, each year we tried to get up to
Bar Harbor.
Bar Harbor and
Yep.
have 2 or 3 nights away,
Kind of
and
play a little tourist ourselves. So,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, we like to do that as well. I don't want to compare, but I got a little bit of a Bar Harbor vibe in Boothbay,
Yeah.
but there was something different though. We had a hard time putting our finger on it. It felt less crazy, but then again, it just could have been because of the time of the year. that we went.
It's a smaller area, and it's
Right.
not so fully sort of populated with, with retail and businesses. I mean,
Right.
you have a nice handful of it, but it's in such a small area that you can walk down one street and quickly you're away from it and can just enjoy some ocean views and things. And Bar Harbor's a lot more sort of condensed, like really.
Condensed and a little bit more chaotic for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, so thank you for, brushing us up a little bit on you guys, and thanks again. And how about, can you brush us up a little bit on Coastal Maine Popcorn Company? Now, we did have Julie on last year and she gave us a pretty good rundown, but how have things been going for you guys? How's the company doing?
We've just had a really, really good year. We've been very fortunate. We over the last 13 years that we've been in business, we've definitely sort of changed directions a few times, as most people need to
Yeah.
do with a small business. So the last correction we made was probably about 3 years ago or so, and the things that we were focusing on and really, really building and trying to develop within our business just happened to kind of flow perfectly with a huge increase in web business over the past year because of things. And we've just sort of, we're in our 13th year, I guess, to some extent, you're going to see some really good sort of brand recognition and growth. And so it's all.
Do you think that you may have expanded too quickly? And I know you saw a pretty good surge when you first got on the scene and you wanted to just because I think all entrepreneurs, I know I struggle with this on a daily basis, is I want to get Box of Maine out there. I want everybody to know about it. I want retail storefronts and big warehouses, and I just want to do all these things. And sometimes I got to tell myself, no, slow down, pump the brakes. Let's master, what we're good at. Let's refine the process. Let's find out exactly where a majority of the income's coming from.
Right. I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
I think for us, yeah, we did expand pretty quickly. We probably didn't have the capital behind us that we needed when we first started. And I think that people underestimate how much money you need behind you to keep going. And so completely honestly, what happened with us was, after seeing a first season in Boothbay Harbor, and we were like, oh, wow. So if we open in Portland, we could have this plus more. And then that happened and we were like, oh, that didn't.
Portland was our Portland location down in the old port was good. And had the rent stayed real close to what it had been at when we started, I doubt we would have pulled out of there when we did. We were there for 7 or 8 years.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
But the rent more than doubled, and certainly our sales didn't more than double. So it just, you're out of the market. But the other thing that I think is more important really, is that it never, the sort of retail, multi-retail unit, business approach wasn't going to make sense. It just, and we learned that. We looked at other places in the country where, you might be able to find someone who would like to open a store, and but it's so seasonal, and you need enough foot traffic year round to warrant, and to pay for everything. So, so I think in that regard, it wouldn't have worked, even if I think we were very lucky to kind of end up in the right direction with what really does work. So
yeah, so sometimes it takes some years, it takes those trials, it takes those pains to really figure out,
yeah.
And we look at it in a positive way too. We blew through a lot of resources that in some ways we're still paying for, but in other ways too, it got our brand out there, and we feel like we maybe wouldn't have the branding that we have without some of those other locations, that we had at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So you had to cut some losses, cut the costs, and really pull back. And how cool is that journey, that story that you guys are still, you didn't have to fold completely and collapse in your businesses. It sounds like it's still going strong. So let's talk about it. So how has COVID impacted your business? Now, I know a lot of people are talking about online retail. Are you guys experiencing, or did you experience a significant boost in online retail? And has that continued? Have you continued to see growth in that avenue?
Yeah, we've definitely when COVID hit, we, like everybody else, we panicked and we thought, okay, one resource that we do have is, is our online, and people are shopping from home. And we
Right.
felt very fortunate to be a Maine food business. It almost doesn't
Right.
get any better than that, to be in the food industry and be from Maine. So we definitely put the blinker on, made a big turn, and
Well,
just
we got hyper focused on, because, you had, like a lot of businesses, we were very lucky to get, some PPP loans. So that certainly at least took a little bit of the angst off of, what's going to happen. And it let us it let us bring people back, number one, immediately. And
like employees and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, our employees were only out as soon as COVID hit, and we found out that the Maine Made, or the New England Made show, was canceled.
That's right.
We basically sent everybody home, and we only had about a 3-week period of our coworkers being on unemployment, and then our PPP money came through, and we immediately brought them back to
Right.
get them off unemployment and get them back to work. And
Right.
we ended up using all of our
98% of it went to payroll,
Went
and
to
then the other
payroll.
Right.
was like oil and electricity or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So
So you talked about it already, tourist town. You rely on that foot traffic. How was that impacted? Because
it was,
I was down there and it was, I mean,
Significant.
yeah.
it didn't look very busy to me.
I mean, our foot traffic, our amount of sales through the door was down about 30%.
It ranged at the beginning, I'd say the first half of the summer, we were pretty consistently around 50% down in the walk-in retail part of it. And then as you got through to August or so, you sort of figured some things out. You figured, and I'd say we were down probably towards the end about 25-30%. So
Now, so some of the other guests we've had on the show have said the exact same thing, but then they go and tell me that their online was up a certain percentage. And then if they look over the whole year, they were up. Could we say the same for you guys?
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
So there's negatives, there's positives, but
One of the things, something that was certainly very significant as well, is the corporate gifting that we've always done to some extent, and personalized product for companies. We started to get approached, and then it happened more than once or twice. We started to get approached by companies that were, figuring out, okay, we've got 60 or 80 new employees that are all around the country through this training program. So they would order popcorn from us as part of a team building activity, where all recipients for this Zoom meeting that they were doing, got popcorn, and it was part of their entire training thing, and to bring the team together. And that's a very unique thing that you would never have seen or thought of prior to this whole sort of new approach to business and to meetings and things. So, and we were lucky to sort of already have that niche to some extent, and then take advantage of it. So
one cool thing that we came up with was obviously there was a lack of toilet paper. And so we came up with Maine's best quarantine box.
yeah, I remember that.
So I found some toilet paper from Cisco in cases, and we started selling these Maine's best quarantine boxes that had 2 rolls of toilet paper,
2 masks,
2 handmade masks. So there were
wow.
5 us hand sewing masks every night when we went home.
Wait, you sewed them?
We sewed them.
They were all hand
Do you
sewn.
regret saying that you'll do that now that you
yes and no.
I mean, just trying to source the elastic.
Wow.
Driving to Lewiston and Auburn, just different places trying to find it. It was crazy.
Yeah, but it had toilet paper, cookies from a local bakery, just all locally sourced things except for the toilet paper, which helped other businesses too. And people got a lot of joy out of them. People were using them for corporate gifting. They were sending them to their children. They were sending them to their grandchildren.
Great.
Yeah, it was. And it kind of
it sort of set it off. That was kind of it, and then you think, okay, well, wow, is that just sort of a one-off? And I don't know, it's part of the nature of digital as well. I mean, when you sort of you get to a certain threshold, I think it's, you just keep throwing. If your ideas are good and your product's good, you can really do something. So,
but I think it starts with thinking outside of the box, having that innovative mentality, like, all right, how can we do something here where we can contribute and we can also keep ourselves afloat, but also, support other businesses. I love that. It was such a great idea. I almost thought about doing it, but I was like, how am I supposed to get toilet paper right now? Because I was about ready to buy that toilet paper from you.
You could have called us.
Yeah, we would help you.
Boy, 2020 was a strange year. And so I want to try to wrap it up and move forward. But I do have one last question, because as you said that, as you saw the online increase, I'm guessing you experienced the same challenges that we did when it came to the carriers and the shipping. So how did you guys handle that? I'm just curious to see, do you
Still handling it.
Yeah, we got really lucky when we started to see, okay, we're going to be okay financially, and because we were doing all right with our web sales and things, we had a little bit of cash behind us. So we actually, especially for Christmas, because the year had been so crazy, we ordered like everything that we thought we would need at least for a month's worth of boxes and bags and
Yeah,
labels.
we increased
And-
all our inventory.
yeah,
basically.
smart.
Yeah, and we knew there were certain things that take a long time anyway. So we just really made sure we had that
So
stuff.
right away, right when you hear things are going to start to close down, you guys are
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to start, increasing our bags and labels and kernels.
Yeah, the ink that you use, because I mean, we print all of our labels. So the ink ribbon that you use to just to print labels for wholesale bags for everybody's bags. I mean, if you can't get that,
And that stuff's not cheap. I don't think the average consumer has to think about all these small it seems small to maybe them, but like, if you don't have ink to print your labels, and what do like, you're in
Right,
trouble.
you can't
Well,
handwrite
and
them.
people don't think about too, when you think about like the cost of business, that the bag that your popcorn goes in is 10 cents, and then the label is another 6 cents, and all
It just
that,
goes.
And did you guys see that stuff increase at all?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah.
And the shipping, I mean, the shipping to receive it, obviously, to get it.
Mhm.
So
Everything. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was definitely tough, and we faced a lot of similar challenges, but let's move forward. Let's put 2020 behind us. I mean, we're already, 3-4 months into the new year here. So what are some expectations for 2021? Did you guys sit down at the beginning of this year and you say, okay, what's the goals for this year? What are we striving? New flavors, pound and wholesale, corporate gift giving?
Yeah, almost kind of all of those things. We're working with a digital marketing company out of Portland now. We started working with them in October, which we've never been able to do before. And so
What's that look like? Because I've had some people approach me for that stuff. It looked pretty
for
costly at
us-
first, but what do they offer? And
Yeah, so it's been, they started doing some ads for us. They do Google advertising,
Facebook.
Instagram. So they work with us kind of to design some ads. Laura, who's one of our coworkers, she and I we love to do the ads and things like
Right.
that. So we work on that a lot together and submit it to them, and they sort of know all the background of
sure. So
Google.
take a little bit off of your plate, but you still have you have a hand in it.
Oh, we have a, you have a real big hand in it, definitely. I mean, but there's just certain things. I mean, it really, it's very beneficial if you've done the groundwork, and that's the key thing, is that for years and years we've been drilling all of our coworkers, get people's email addresses, get their email
Right.
address, offer them that discount, and don't be shy. And we've been doing that for years, and it builds up that list, and that list is gold,
Yeah.
so that's how you communicate with everybody and continue to do that, even when they don't come back to Maine for vacation. So when you have that, then working with the right people to really sort of capitalize on that makes a lot of sense. We tried doing it maybe a little bit too early in our sort of business cycle, and it wasn't quite as beneficial, but yeah, it's a good.
Well, that's good advice. I think maybe I got approached with it a little bit early, but I may, reconsider it soon here. So, all right, that's great ways to take a little bit off, and so that you guys can focus a little bit more on, homeschooling or, other things. So what does an average day look like now? Paul, you said you're giving some time to that, which is, I applaud you for that. That is quite a challenge. I have a 7 and a 4-year-old, and whew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I really feel like I'm lucky that I get to do it. But basically, we have four days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, soon going to be Wednesday as well. But that in the mornings we're doing school. We're at home, doing, math and doing science and sound waves and light waves and I mean, just all kinds of stuff, really cool stuff, fun stuff to learn. So, but that'll, then basically my afternoons are, I mean, I'm in doing production one day a week usually, or have been. It just sort of, we juggle everything pretty
We
much.
juggle a
So
lot. We have great coworkers. Like we couldn't do anything that we've been able to do this year without our
Oh, yeah.
amazing team.
I couldn't stay at home and teach my 9-year-old,
Right.
this past year if we didn't have an awesome team.
Yeah.
We're in a great place, and we're really fortunate,
Yeah.
really fortunate.
Mhm.
Yeah, and again, this season on the Made podcast, there's a lot of commonality between all of the guests so far, and one of the big ones is having that strong team, and building the team and getting the right people in. That's what I've been doing for the past couple years, and I finally was able to take the vacation last year and take a step
Nice.
back. And when you're so heavily involved in the day-to-day stuff, sometimes I feel like you're missing, you could miss things like being able to homeschool your daughter. Like how awesome that's
I know.
only going to be for a moment, right? That will soon pass.
Right.
But to be able to have the foundation already laid so that you can do it without having all that extra stress and burden, which I'm sure there's still some of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
There is, but it's just
It's different though, because I mean, you can't, I don't, and for us, I mean, we feel, when we say we're so fortunate, when we say that, we mean that from the very core of our being. I mean, we graciousness and being and appreciating what what you have and what's around you is like, that's the game. That is the game. So
instead of looking at it like, people say, oh, 2020 was awful, COVID was
Right.
terrible. We look at it like, we try to look at the good parts of it. Like we got extra time with our family, and
right.
we try not to dwell on the negative, but really pull what were the good things instead of the bad things out of it.
I really do believe that that's the difference between succeeding, not just in life, but in business, or not. You're either going to think outside the box, you're going to get back to the drawing board. Now, you guys are 13 years into it. Like that's, I imagine there's some days where there's a lack of motivation and drive and focus. How do you get that fire going again? Let me know, because I'm going on 5 years here, and some days it's like, oh, I gotta.
That's where having a team, that's where the two of us being a team is, because when I'm down, she's up. When she's down, I mean, it's very symbiotic. We got to really,
Yeah,
it's very good.
it's interesting for me. I have a lot of trouble like doing home and work at the same time. So like if I'm at home and our daughter's here, I have a lot of trouble. I can either do one or the other, but I have trouble doing both. So for me, if there's been days that I've been home, even if Olivia isn't here and I've been working, I get my juice back from like getting back into the store with my team and my coworkers, and
Right.
getting energized and joking around and being, just juicing back up that way by being with them, in the throes of it.
Yeah, and they do appreciate that. I know that that, and I'm seeing it more and more, that they like to see the owners come in and have a good time, and they're not just coming in and they're not just cracking the whip all the time. Although there's a time for that, but it's also nice to be able to goof off and have some jokes and have fun with them, and keep the morale boosted up. So
Absolutely.
For sure.
so how about this? How about new flavors? I know we talked last time. It was all about unicorn toots, but since then I've seen like frog farts and all these different flavors.
You
So
want to get into the interesting stuff?
yeah, so the interesting thing is frog farts turned into frog logs because apparently somebody had the trademark on the word farts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
Trademark farts.
yeah, so we'll skip over most of that story, but now
Okay.
it's frog logs, and it's still on the label, has a fun little poop with some steam. So so that's good. And we
Right.
have we're kind of doing some fun stuff.
We have a lot of there's a lot of stuff
Yeah,
Okay.
for the month of
Coming.
April.
It's fun.
Yeah, we're doing like there's 10 national days in April. Like maybe there's a national beer day and maybe there's a national peach cobbler
And like a
day,
pineapple upside down day. And
right?
Wow. I don't know
So
how you do it, all these different flavors. I remember last season, you're just like, sometimes it just comes into my head and I go into the kitchen and I tell the person that whips up the popcorn and everything, this is the flavor I want.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
some
when
are hits and some are not hits.
Right.
when I brought these ideas up to Paul, he like I get the eye roll a lot and he's like, oh geez, but he just knows it's gonna happen. So he
Right.
just shouldn't fight it.
Paul, do you like, do you know if it's gonna, do you just go with it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you try, it's, I mean, yeah, it's, and the more flavors you try, obviously, you just keep trying and trying, and some things work. And I'd say probably our success rate, honestly, at this point is probably 80-90%. I mean, most of the stuff that we try, you sometimes you have to tweak it. Oh, it needs a little more salt
yeah.
or whatever, but
It's exciting. I'm always keeping my eye out. I see, cinnamons and spicy stuff. And, boy, you guys have really set yourself apart with all of these very unique flavors. And so would you say that is that what it is? Is
Mhm.
obviously you have great customer service, great people, great workers, but
Yeah, we used to argue a lot in the beginning. Like, one of us would say, "Oh, we can't have this many flavors; it's too hard."
oh,
And
we got to do this. Or,
and the other one of us would say, which was me, "We have to keep this many flavors because it keeps us different."
right.
And it's pretty hard to keep up with 40 different flavors and keep them all fresh. And
Or 48,
right,
right?
but that's what makes us different. Nobody else can do that. I mean, they can, but
It's just, the one, what it comes down to, I think, is we do all of these, like you had said, how do you get rejuiced, right? Like you're 5 years in, you sort of, well, a big part of it is like, you look what we do, right? It's like Willy Wonka kind of. So you get tired of some flavors or whatever, and you get so focused on like maybe a new website or doing this stuff or that stuff. But when it all comes back to it, it's like, let's get back in there. Like, let's do this, let's do this. It starts to be fun.
let's have fun again. Yeah.
And you're not doing it because you think, oh no, this will sell better, or we can market this to this. No, you do it. We do it because we do what we think is fun and what we would like.
Yeah.
And and not just the two of us, but the whole team. And that generally translates well to everybody else. So it's
Sure.
it's fun.
we had a lot of fun the day that we figured out we were going to have to rename frog farts. So there was some pretty fun things.
There was some stuff we probably couldn't put on a label, but you have fun
And
with
what's
it.
another word for fart?
Right. That's mhm.
What was we were going to do? Toadstools.
Oh, toadstools.
Like stool, like
Oh, I gotcha. That's not bad.
Amphibious flatulence, but that's pretty hard on it.
That's a lot of ink on the label, though, isn't it? That's great. So obviously, we know that we can find the popcorn in stores. So you wholesale to a bunch of stores. Paul, are you on the phone trying to call, or do you have somebody doing that now? Or
No, we are. Well, this past year sort of threw us for a loop because it was sort of, okay, everything comes back home. We all stay here. I wasn't driving out and going to all the convenience stores and doing things. I certainly hope that starts back up because there's no better way. Obviously, you need to be out on the road. Somebody needs to be on the road to some extent, and so I love doing that.
And we've really just and not only to keep our family safe, but to keep our coworkers safe and our community safe. Like we really Paul and Olivia and I have basically been at home and at work, and we just felt
Right.
like we had that obligation to our town and our coworkers to really, to be safe and not be out on the road. And so that's like
Well,
he said, it's sort of been that part has been.
do you think that you may have lost some accounts making that sacrifice?
I don't think so.
I don't think we've lost. I think any accounts that I think most, if we haven't heard from any significant accounts, well, there aren't any significant that we haven't heard from, but any we haven't heard from, there may be some who are themselves just opening up now. Maybe they, didn't do last season, or they didn't want to commit, to a full inventory of what they would normally commit to. So
you guys are hopeful that 2021, like summertime, do you think people will start opening back up?
Yeah, I think
I think I think it's going to be incredible this summer.
I do too.
Yeah.
People
I
are
mean,
definitely with vaccinations and things starting to feel safer to
Mhm.
hopefully, be able
It
to
sounds
move.
like more tourists, based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like more people are planning to come visit. Hopefully, they still stay safe and do everything that they need to do.
Definitely.
So let's talk about the community a little bit. You said, you wanted to have a safe environment for your employees and your family. How about working with the community? I see that you guys have done some fundraising for Action for Animals Maine last year, selling Muddy Paws. What are
Yeah.
some other things that you guys have done for the community? And is there anything that you can share?
Yeah, anything, Action for Animals Maine is the big one for us. We've actually, last year we were able to donate close to $4,000 to them, in sales, from the Muddy Paws. And,
We continue to work with them. That's an ongoing thing.
yeah.
Awesome.
And basically, working with our local food pantry, trying to support our schools with, anytime somebody reaches out, we're going to be doing some stuff for the graduating class at Boothbay Region High School this year, because obviously things look very different for them. So, anything,
Well, and working heavily with the chamber as well to try to, there's a real buzz in Boothbay Harbor. And things are changing pretty quickly. Certainly more so than in the last 18 years that I've lived here. So it's very vibrant, lots of new businesses. We've been busier this winter. Town in general, not our store. I mean, our store as well, but town in general has just been busier. There have been more people here. There's more people here from away that, came up and just stayed. They bought homes. It's really quite different. So
you guys do some collaborations too. I've seen, obviously you can do the custom labeling, which is great for corporate gift giving. You actually, we were able to work with us in doing a custom label. So thank you for that. Was there any other businesses that you've been able to collaborate with? I know that I've seen you with Wilbur's creating like a nice little gift basket with them.
Yeah, we collaborate. We have a great brewery in our right down behind us in Boothbay Harbor, the Footbridge Brewery. Sort of homegrown beer company.
Yeah,
and
we've certainly worked with them.
Yeah, two great guys from town own it. And so we, like I mentioned, for that National Beer Day,
Right.
might be something
Might be a
coming.
National Beer Day in April.
Yeah.
Farm 23 is a
Yep.
new bakery in town. And we've definitely, especially with some of those boxes, partnered up and love working with them on things. So
Yeah, we have a local company, Boothbay Harbor Apparel. They do beautiful embroidery and screen printing. So we were able to team up with them to get some cool blue cloth masks with red lobsters on them.
Code 3 Spices, although that's a small local company, just not local in Boothbay Harbor. It's out in Illinois, but that's the source of some of our really good flavors coming out, that are already out or that are about to come out. So.
Yeah. And they donate a certain percentage of their proceeds to
first responders.
Yeah, first responders, emergency personnel. So
some really, really good guys.
Have you ever thought about trying to get the popcorn in like a trail mix or like mixing it with any other type of food item, or is that just not realistic?
We worked once with Amber from Maine Grains. We were
we had her on.
Yeah, we did that. And so what we didn't realize is that we had to bake the oats first. So when they meshed,
so they went bad.
So they fermented. They almost turned into beer popcorn. So that was in 13 years. That was like our one whoops.
Yeah.
But so we're getting ready. We figured that out now. So getting ready to do some more stuff with Maine Grains.
Right.
So that's
one of the things that we're always real conscious of is if we do things with nuts, then all of a sudden we open everything up to nut allergens, and it just, when you've got a lot of kids and a lot of just so many different people coming into your store, that's always a consideration. So
Great. And so as we start to wrap things up, I see that you still have the Popcorn of the Month Club. How's that going? Is that some people can just sign up to that and they can get different popcorns every month, or?
Yeah, so we have a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month membership. So every month the recipient gets 2 large bags, and our large bags are about 10 cups of popcorn, 1 sweet flavor, 1 savory flavor, delivered. It ships out every month on the second Friday of the month. We have tons of them that go every month right now.
They can choose how often they get it, or is it just every month?
Yeah, the 3, the 6, or the 12, and they're always in consecutive months. So, if you get the 6th month, it's for, 6 months in a row.
Okay, gotcha.
We're working on doing, because we have some folks who are like, oh, I just want the sweet one, or I just want savory, or I need all gluten-free. So we are working on trying to figure out how to have some more.
Customize that a bit.
Yeah.
That's a bit tricky, but yeah, it's tough because you want to try to meet all of these needs, but sometimes it just may not be realistic or financially feasible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got to try to do your best, I guess, if you get enough people requesting that they want the gluten-free or something like. So you do custom orders. We talked about that. The decorative tins, I'm guessing that's probably heavy on like Christmas, or do you see?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
Box sets, things like that we do. Flights, instead of beer flights, we have popcorn flights. So, there are bags that have 5 smaller bags down in them. So they
nice.
get, a sampler.
I do remember that as a kid growing up. That was one thing I'd always get for Christmas from my mom. Like every year would be the multi-tin with all the different popcorn things. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that a lot. So I see that you guys do something, but it's local to Maine. So how cool is that?
Yeah.
Is there anything I'm missing? You guys do a lot of stuff. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. It's
don't
kind
think
of
so.
the
It's-
possibilities are endless with what we can do,
Yeah.
which is kind of fun with the labeling and the custom coloring and
The
things like that.
Fundraising has been fundraising is a really great thing that we do with schools and with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, all kinds of stuff. But it's that's starting. That's really, I think, going to start coming back now as well. So that's been a challenge this year. But
Well, great. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming on the show. Before we go, can you let people know where they can find you online, social media, and everything?
Yeah, they can find us coastalmainepopcorn.com and Facebook / Coastal Maine Popcorn, and then Instagram, which is Coastal Maine Popcorn Co. And we're also, we always look for folks if they want to send us an email, if they have a great, little mom and pop store or convenience store or something near them that they think would be a good match for our popcorn, then we can reach out and get them some samples and
exactly,
get them some popcorn in their area.
spread the popcorn love.
That's right. So you're not on TikTok doing any dancing with popcorn or anything?
Yeah, I think our kids would. But it's probably coming. Who knows?
Maybe our kids need to do. There you go.
Yeah, that seems to be the thing nowadays. Well, whatever. We got what we got, right? Facebook and Instagram. That's good enough for right now. So. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I had a blast. I hope you have a great rest of the day, great rest of the year, and thank you so much for continuing to work with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. We enjoy working with you. We appreciate your business too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Season 2 of the Made and Made podcast. We hope that you thoroughly enjoyed this episode and would like to ask you to consider sharing it with friends, family, and your business peers. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can find the Made and Made podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and all other digital streaming services. If you would like to financially support the show and be a part of putting Maine on the map, you can subscribe to us on Patreon or email madeandmadepodcast@gmail.com. So shop local, shop small, and save Maine businesses once and for all.